You've definitely heard this one before. Melts in your mouth, not in your hand. It's one of the most iconic slogans in the food world, and it belongs to one of the most addictive little candies out there, M&Ms. But have you ever stopped to think about how these tiny chocolate buttons got so big? Well, the story of M&Ms actually starts in a pretty unexpected place, Spain during the late 1930s, right in the middle of the Spanish Civil War. American candy maker Forrest Mars Sr., the son of the guy who created the Milky Way, was traveling through Europe when he noticed something interesting. Soldiers were eating little chocolate pellets covered in a hard sugar shell, and they weren't melting in the soldiers' hands. That's all it took. Mars saw a golden idea in that practical solution, and when he got back to the States, he got to work. By 1941, he had launched his own version of the candy, hard-shelled chocolate that didn't melt on contact. He didn't do it alone, though. His partner at the time was Bruce Murray, the son of Hershey's president, which helped secure a steady supply of chocolate. And if you're wondering where the name comes from, M&M stands for Mars and Murray. Pretty straightforward. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. M&Ms weren't initially for the average candy lover. They were first made for soldiers during World War II. That sugar shell meant the chocolate wouldn't melt in their pockets or rations, even in hot climates. It was chocolate you could carry into battle. Once the war ended and the soldiers came home hooked on them, M&Ms hit the mainstream and exploded in popularity. Fast forward to today, and M&M Mars is making about 1 billion M&Ms every single day. That's billion with a B. Just to give you some perspective, if you lined up every M&M produced in a year, they'd circle the earth 48 times. That's a whole lot of crunch. Now let's talk about how these things are actually made, because the process is kind of wild. It all starts at their factory in Hackettstown, New Jersey, and the whole thing takes around 12 hours from start to finish. First, they make the chocolate, a mix of milk, cocoa, and sugar, and run it through machines that refine it from a gooey paste into a fine powder. That powder gets sent to a room called the conch room, where huge metal tubs filled with steel balls grind it together with cocoa butter and chocolate liquor until it turns into that smooth, rich chocolate we all know. Next, the chocolate is deposited into tiny lentil-shaped molds, and yes, they literally call it a lentil shape because it's perfect for an even sugar coating. Now here's the thing, the very first layer of candy coating, that part's top secret. Seriously, they won't tell you how it's done. Trade secret. Once the chocolate gets its initial coat, it tumbles through massive rotating drums where it gets more and more layers of color and that signature glossy shine. Then comes the finishing touch, the famous little M printed right onto each candy. But did you know the colors inside each bag aren't totally random? Nope. There's a formula. In every standard bag, you'll find exactly 25% orange, 25% blue, and 12.5% each of red, yellow, green, and brown. That's right, someone is out there making sure the color ratios stay on point. And yes, M&Ms has an entire team of color specialists who track trends in fashion, design, even pop culture to make sure the colors feel modern and fresh. That's why we've seen limited editions like white, pink, even pretzel M&Ms, and other seasonal variations. Now, if we go even deeper into the M&M history vault, here's something cool. Red M&Ms were actually pulled from the lineup in the 1970s due to public concern about a dye called red number 2, which wasn't even used in M&Ms, but people were freaked out, so they removed it anyway. Red didn't come back until 1987 after the panic calmed down. And get this, M&Ms were the first candy in space. In 1981, they were chosen by NASA as part of astronauts' space food. Why? Because they're compact, don't make a mess, and hey, astronauts love chocolate too. So the next time you rip open a bag of M&Ms, just know, you're not just eating candy. You're eating a piece of wartime innovation, space-age snacking, and marketing genius, all wrapped up in a little crunchy shell. They may be tiny, but their story, absolutely massive.